All right, hey guys, this video is going to go through a quick review of scientific notation. All right, so remember we learned about scientific notation. It's a way to write really big numbers or really small numbers as powers of 10. All right, so to do that, first thing you need to do is find your decimal point, and you need to make it a number between 1 and 10. So you start moving the decimal over until you get to a number between 1 and 10. So right here, if I move it here, 4.8 is between 1 and 10. So I can write 4.8. I do not have to write all these zeros, and then it's times 10 to the, you count how many spots you move the decimal. Well, when I was moving that over, I should have been counting, but I moved it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's times 10 to the 8th power. Keep in mind that this is a really big number, so this is going to be a positive exponent. So remember, really large numbers are going to be a positive exponent. All right, the second one, if I want to write this in scientific notation, again, I'm moving the decimal till I get to a number between 1 and 10. Well, if I move it right here, 3.69, that's between 1 and 10, times 10 to the, I moved it 1, 2, 3, 4 places, and this is a really small number, 0.000369, that's really small, so it's going to be a negative exponent, 10 to the negative 4th. All right, the next thing you learned is if I give you one like this, 4.8 times 10 to the 6th, how do you change that back to standard form? Okay, well, all you do is this number tells you how many places to move the decimal. This is a positive number, so I'm going to move it to the right. So I'm going to move it to the right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then I'm going to put zeros in those spots. So this one would change into 4, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros. Okay, so that would be my number. Second is if I have a small number like this, 5.2 times 10 to the negative 3rd. Okay, this tells me to move my decimal to the left 3 places. So 1, 2, 3. I'll put a little 0 there. So my number would be 0.052. And I end up with a small number. All right, next thing that we learned that you're gonna see on your test is if you look at this number, right now it's not written in scientific notation because 48 is not between 1 and 10. So to make it a number in scientific notation, I'm gonna move my decimal back 1. So I really made it smaller. So I'm gonna rewrite it now as 4.826. If you make this number smaller, because this was 48, now it's 4.8 smaller, you need to make your exponent bigger by 1 power of 10. Okay, so I'm gonna add 1 to that, and it ends up being times 10 to the 4th. All right, let's take a look at the second one. This time, again, the second number is not in scientific notation, so I'm gonna move it over. Now it says 2.5. That is between 1 and 10. Now I just made this number bigger by a power of 10, so I need to make this one smaller, or subtract 1 here. Okay, so negative 5 and negative 1 is negative 6, so it becomes 10 to the negative 6 power. And this would be my final answer in scientific notation. All right, the next thing that we did was wrote numbers in multiplied numbers in scientific notation. So remember, when you multiply, you can multiply your two normal numbers. 4 times 5, that gives me 20. And then 10 to the 6 times 10 to the 4th. Remember, that's the same as writing it out like 10 times 10 times 10, 6 times, 6 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 4 more of them, which is really the same as adding those. And you end up with 20 times 10 to the 10th power. So 6 plus 4 is 10. Now, if you take a look at this answer right here is not in scientific notation because 20 is not between 1 and 10. So to change it to a number that is between 1 and 10, I'm going to move it back 1. Now my new number is 2.0 or 2. I just made that number smaller, so I need to make this bigger, so it becomes times 10 to the 11th power. And there's my final answer. So remember, when you are multiplying, you add those exponents. You might want to put that in your notes. Okay, the next thing that you learned how to do was divide in scientific notation. So when you divide, remember, you start by dividing your two normal numbers. I'm going to do 4 divided by 20. I end up with 0.2. Okay, my next step, my laws of exponents, is you subtract the bottom one from the top one. So I'm going to come up here and write minus 5. Now, when you do this, be careful. Negative 4 minus 5, you might want to add the opposite, just switching colors here, and I end up with times 10 to the negative 9th. Now, if you guys look at this, it is not in scientific notation right now. I need to make this number between 1 and 10. So I'm going to move it over 1. So now it says 2, or 2.0, times 10 to the, I made this number bigger. I need to make this smaller. So negative 9 minus 1 more is negative 10. So my final answer is 2.0 times 10 to the negative 10th. All right, so the next thing you guys learned how to do is add and subtract. Adding and subtracting works the same way. So I'm just going to do an addition problem. So remember, before you can add or subtract, you need to have the same exponents here. Okay, right now they are not the same. So I usually change the smaller one so it's the bigger one. So what you can do is if I want this to be a 3, I need to add 1. Well, that was making this bigger. So if I make this bigger, I need to make this smaller by 1 power of 10. So I'm going to change it to 0.24 times 10 to the third. Okay, so now my new problem is 4.6 times 10 to the third plus 0.24 times 10 to the third. Now I have the same exponent here, so now I can just add my 4.6 and my 0.24. Remember, you need to line your decimals up. Okay, I'll add a 0 here. I add that, I get 4, I get 8, I get 4.84. So my final answer is 4.84 times 10 to the third. Remember, this just stays 10 to the third. This number is in scientific notation because if you look at this, this is between 1 and 10, so I am good. Subtracting is the same way. You just need to make sure your exponents are the same. All right, so that was just a quick review of scientific notation. If you have questions, please check in with your teacher. And then make sure you use all your notes when you take your final quiz.